Hi, happy Thursday. Today I was going to sit down and film my April wrap up, but you know, my brain is just not really in that today. So I thought I would do something fun instead. Not that it's not fun to talk about books, it's just today I don't feel like it would be fun for my brain, and I don't think that I would do the books justice. So instead, as you will have noticed from the past few videos, I purchased my first wig a few weeks ago, and then I purchased several more in very quick succession, and I have been having a lot of fun with styling them. And by styling, I just mean the wigs with clothes and hats and all of that stuff, and kind of just figuring out how I want to wear wigs. As you know, my fashion sense, if we can call it fashion, I'm calling it fashion sense with a capital F, is big toddler energy. Lots of colours. So what I want to do today is I have asked on Instagram for your questions, bookish and otherwise, and you have sent me questions relating to reading, writing, publishing, disfigurement, disability, cooking, lots of stuff. So I am going to style each of the wigs that I have bought. I think that I have 7 or maybe 8. Let's not count them. I mean, we're going to count them because you're going to see how many I have. Anyway, I'm going to style each of those wigs with an outfit, and then I'm going to sit down and answer a few questions in that outfit and then change. I'm just in the mood for a little bit of fun, and I would like you to join me, and that's what we're going to be doing. So do grab a cup of tea, pull up a seat, and let's go. Okay, I've brought you towards the window because it is super dreary and rainy outside, so it's really dark in here. Let me focus this. So I'm wearing this. It's an old New Look dress. The reason I'm mentioning the brands, or at least I'll mention some of them, is in case you want to depop it, because I know that some of you are Depop deep divers, which is very hard to say. But yeah, this is a New Look dress from about 4 or 5 years ago. I have it in a couple of colours. And if you were around last summer, let's focus, this was a white version of it that I dyed. Well, I tried to dye it red and it came out bright pink, but I also have it in this coral colour as well. But yes, blonde wig, daisy print dress, green cardigan, spotty beanie, floral headscarf. Let's answer some questions. So in no particular order, someone said, would you ever agree to have your work adapted to another media form, such as TV, film, theatre, etc.? Absolutely, yes, I would. Always a privilege to have those kind of conversations. So this has happened very low-key a couple of times, and that's low-key, not low-key. So some schools have adapted my Franklin books and turned them into school productions, which is super cute. I was in conversations last year with someone who wanted to turn one of my stories, In the Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, into a theatre production, so into a play. That would have been amazing. We had some wonderful chats about that, but then, you know, COVID. So maybe that will happen in the future, maybe it won't. In the past, I've had some conversations with people who wanted to turn weird things customers say in bookshops into TV shows. And I do know that there is also going to be a play version of some of my poems from the Girl Aquarium, but that is in Mexico and it will be in Spanish and I will never see it. But again, it's so lovely to know that that's something that exists. Someone says, why do you love cooking, and does Mr. M ever cook? What are your favourite meals to cook for each of you? So I would say that Mr. M loved cooking before I loved cooking. He definitely used to cook a lot more. He goes through phases of being really into certain things, and cooking was definitely one of those. But we like cooking different things. We like eating the same food. We're just drawn to different styles of cooking. So he loves making sauce-based things, stews that cook for a long period of time, that you can tweak and edit as you go, and he likes to experiment. Whereas I prefer following a recipe Not always. I do like to experiment with food that I've got in the cupboard and leftover things and concoct new things. But on the whole, if I'm looking to cook as an escapist thing, I like following a recipe because it means I'm thinking in a different way. I am letting somebody else be in control, even though I am, you know, implementing those things. And I know that by following a set of instructions, I'm going to get something delicious to eat at the end of it. Plus I have distracted my anxious brain in the meantime. So I think he cooks to be creative, and I sometimes cook to be creative, but because my job is creative, I actually use cooking as a more mechanical thing to get me through stuff. I'm not sure what our individual favorite things to cook are. I would say that those change all the time, but in general, that's how we each differently approach cooking. Okay, category is art teacher vibes, I think. So I'm wearing these bright blue balloon jeans, which I think were from a company called Lioness. This is a Lucignac belt. This is a Lucignac corduroy jacket. If you're ever wondering where my dungarees are from, they're normally from Lucignac. I'm sure I'll wear some in another outfit. This is just a stripy basic top with a grey wig, a navy beanie and a light blue headscarf. Oh, and these socks, which to be honest I wasn't actually styling, but they do go with the jacket, and they're super comfy. All my socks pretty much are from Thought, which is a company that I really like, and these are bamboo socks, so they are super soft. I'm often asked about this necklace in videos. It is by a company called Merry Merry, who I think really just makes stuff for kids, but as I said, my aesthetic is big toddler, so I don't care. So I will link this necklace in the description box down below. Okay, some more questions. Someone said, what book would you love to read for the first time again? I think it's going to have to be His Dark Materials. Someone else asked me, why do I love His Dark Materials so much? Because whenever anyone asks what my favourite book is, that's the one I default to. I'm not sure it is my favourite now, but if I'm thinking collectively over the whole of my life, that's definitely my favourite book. It's the book that I've reread the most. It's the one that I'm drawn back to time and time again. I would say I also have new favourites that pop up alongside it, and they come and then they go, they fade. I think that's what books do, because they speak to you within that moment. But because that one had such a big impact on me as a teenager, I came to it in my late teens, so 18, and then I really studied it at university, but that was through choice. It wasn't something that I was told to study. I chose to rip it apart for my dissertation. My dissertation was growing up as a sin in children's literature. So I studied His Dark Materials alongside Peter Pan and Narnia. And I'm always asked about that dissertation. Because it's so old, I don't want to put it online because I would want to edit it so much. But I have made a video talking about Peter Pan, and a lot of the stuff that I talk about in that video is in my dissertation, which I'll link down below. Okay, so I'm not wearing this wig with a hat, but I would if I went outside, because let's talk about that when I sit down. But I think this reminds me of Luna in the Franklin and Luna books. Like Katie's illustration of Luna, as if Luna was all grown up. That's what vibe this wig gives me, and I kind of love it. Oh, sorry, shaking you around there. So if I zoom out, this dress is the baggiest, comfiest dress in the history of all dresses. I was gifted this last year from Toast because I write reviews for them online, and I was doing some online events with Maggie O'Farrell, Bernardine Evaristo, and Tracy Chevalier. I'll link that in the description box down below. And they wanted me to wear one of their dresses when I was doing the online live event, and I said yes please, thank you very much. And this is so comfy. Chunky boots, and then this sweater. This Red Riding Hood cutout acrylic necklace is from Etsy, and I'll link it in the description box down below. Okay, so as I mentioned, I wouldn't normally, never say never, but I wouldn't normally wear wigs outside without wearing a headscarf, a hat, just because I like to feel like they're secure. And the wigs that I have bought are cheap wigs. I may invest in a higher quality human hair wig in the future. I've actually been offered one of those on the NHS with my alopecia, but I hadn't decided if I would take that up yet, or whether that's just something that I'll save up for myself in the future. I want to have fun with wigs, and as I mentioned in a video a few weeks ago, my goal is not to pass as someone who doesn't have hair loss, and I totally get why some people with alopecia want that to be the case. Like, they want their wigs to be as realistic as possible, but I kind of just want mine to be as fun as possible, which is why I'm going for the bright colours, why I don't care that they're particularly, you know, shiny. Also, synthetic wigs are easier to care for. If I wear hats, I don't have to worry about hairlines, plus it means they feel more secure. And I could just wear a beanie on its own, but when I was styling using beanies with my own hair, because I lost more than half of my hair, there was no volume anymore, and I felt that this was like a little flat, so I liked putting a headscarf on top to kind of give it a little bit of volume. So I have lots of these, which you can see. Can you see? They're hanging at the end of my wardrobe there. These are 90 centimeter satin scarves, and I'll link some in the description box down below too. So I just fold them in half into a triangle and then roll them. It's kind of hard to show you because it's so big, so that I get a long strip of fabric, which looks like this. And then I just tie it around my head. It's just 2 simple knots. And then I tuck the loose bits in. That's how I would style this wig with headscarves. I think it's going to be quite funny because when I first started wearing beanies without the headscarves 3 years ago, I did make a video where I was showing the beanies that I'd bought and how I was wearing them, and I wasn't wearing headscarves on top at that point. And I don't know, looking back on that video now, I think, well, bless, she didn't really know what she was doing. And I'm sure that in a few years' time, I'm going to look back at this video and think, oh bless, she didn't really know what she was doing. And I don't, but I don't care because I'm just having fun. Ignore the steamer on the floor. I think that this wig is my least favourite out of the ones that I own. With the hats, it falls in a different way. But I asked in the last wig video what you think my superpower would be, because it does also remind me of a cartoon, you know, Marvel character. And many of you said the ability to photosynthesize. So I think it's only right to pair it with floral. This is actually a jumpsuit, a floral jumpsuit. And then we've got another beanie headscarf combo. And actually this necklace here is also from a seller on Etsy called Tina Tarnoff, and I have several of her pieces and I think that she's fantastic, so I'll link her in the description box down below too. Look, all of the wigs lined up on the bed over there. What is your favourite book that you have read so far this year? Why is it that whenever anyone asks you a question like that, you just immediately forget everything that you've read, even though I talk about the books that I've read all the time? Let me just remind myself of the things that I have read this year so far. I know that up there is Growing Up Disabled in Australia. That's my favourite, most recent read. It's incredible. 50 Sounds by Polly Barton, Show Us Who You Are by Elle McNichol. I'm cheating, aren't I? Because I'm just naming lots of different books. But I think those ones are my favourite that I've read so far this year. Any good audiobook recommendations? Something to listen to on a walk. I love the audiobook of My Name is Leon by Kit DeWall, which is narrated by Lenny Henry. That is such a brilliant audiobook. Obviously, the Frida Klein series by Nikki French. The first one is Blue Monday, and they are narrated by, I feel like it's Beth Chalmers. Yeah, Beth Chalmers. Okay, so I would definitely recommend those. Lanny by Max Porter is wonderful on audiobook because it's a full cast, which I think is fantastic. Oh, and Passing by Passing by Nella Larson, narrated by Tessa Thompson, which I listened to very recently and absolutely adored. Let's do one more question before I change again. Can I hope for an Italian translation of your books? There is already an Italian translation of my Franklin and Luna series, which is illustrated by Katie Harnett. And in Italian, Franklin is called Dante. And I really loved that switch. I can see Franklin being a Dante. Yes, many of my books have been translated into other languages, I think 15 different languages in total, but you can find details on my website, which I'll link in the description box down below. All right, let's change. Oh hey, so I have come around to decorate your house. That's the look that we're going for here, and I can't believe that we've got this far into the video without me wearing a pair of dungarees. But these are a pair of Luciniac dungarees, corduroy. They're cream ones. Perhaps not the most flattering thing in the world, but they are the most comfortable and comforting thing in the world. And then I've just got a body on underneath. And if I was going out, I would probably wear a hat on top of this. I threw some suggested headscarves on the bed, but actually I quite like it like this for inside. Hobbit dungaree vibes, is that a thing? Can we make that a thing? And Tavi says, you've been on BookTube for a while. Would you say you still enjoy it, and why? I've been doing this for 6.5 years now, and I absolutely still enjoy it. And if I didn't, I wouldn't make the videos. I think it's because the channel has changed as I have changed. So I haven't felt the need to stick to a particular kind of content. Yes, my content has always revolved around books, and I don't think that will ever change. But as I've taken up more cooking and baking, I've thrown that into more vlogging type stuff, disability advocacy things, and just made everything a bit of a mishmash. I know it's not the most clickable content. It's not gonna make my channel grow the most to be baking a pizza while talking about books, but that's the kind of thing that I like to watch. So that's the kind of content that I want to make. I think if you always just make the kind of content that you want to watch, then you're all good. Law says, can you give us the bao recipe for our souls? So yesterday I made bao, and it was so good. I would recommend Pippa Middlehurst's book, which is called Noodles and Dumplings. There's a lot of meat in it, but you can substitute for like jackfruit and other things like that. And also I would recommend, this is not bao, but I'm just thinking about noodles. They're fun to make yourself, but if you would like some ramen, let me remind myself, Matsudai Ramen, which is a ramen place in Wales that does national delivery across the UK, does the most amazing ramen kits, and Mr. M and I tried that the other week, and it's amazing, and I'm pretty sure that I found out about them through Pippa, so I'll link those people in the description box down below too. I think you could get Trelawney from this outfit, which wasn't quite the vibe that I was going for, but that's fine. So this is the pink wig with an oversized batwing grey jumper, and then these amazing trousers, which are from Thought. I got them in the sale last year, so they're from the same place that I bought my socks. These just feel like I'm wearing a garden. I think I particularly like this wig because it's essentially what my hair used to be like, except pink, just a bit all over the place. What is your favourite board game? So I have made several videos about our favourite board games, which we've been playing a lot during this past year. So I'll link videos down below where I've spoken about those. Recently, we have been particularly enjoying Unlock escape rooms. They're fantastic. Battleline is still our go-to card game for two people, but this weekend we went back and played Isle of Skye, which is kind of a little bit like Carcassonne. So if you like Carcassonne, I think you would really like Isle of Skye. Do you have advice for a writer with 3 publisher rejections? I've made several videos on the publishing industry, which I'll link in the description box down below. If you've written a novel and you don't have an agent, look for an agent. And I have made a video with my own agent, Charlie, where we spoke about the process of getting an agent. Agents just know the best editors to contact for your work. And I could talk about that in detail here, but I've spoken about it in other videos. It would be too long to go into here. And then there was also questions about submitting to literary journals. Hang on. Oh yes, what do you do after getting published in literary magazines? I just feel lost after. Well, congratulations if you're getting published in literary magazines. So if you're writing short stories and poetry, then you need to build like a writing CV by submitting to journals and entering competitions. I will, again, link some stuff in the description box down below. And then after that, you should work on bringing together a collection. For poetry, that would be a chapbook or a pamphlet, a collection of 25 poems. And for a short story collection, that would be a short story collection, normally about 40,000 words. Again, I've linked videos in the description box down below. And for anyone who is starting out on writing, would like some more advice or feedback, I do offer editorial services as part of my job. So I'll link that down below, and I run writing workshops online, one-on-one via email, all year round for poetry, short stories and creative non-fiction. I'll also link those in the description box down below too. Unicorns, yay or nay? Always a yay, and I like the pun there. And speaking of unicorns, unicorns, let's get into the final outfit, which will be for the purple wig. I do actually have another like ginger coloured wig, but I've already styled 2 reddish wigs, so let's end with the purple. I would style the unicorn wig with this long floral maxi dress, and with the light, we've got a really light blue-grey beanie, a light blue headscarf, and then this lovely tiny polar bear cub necklace, which was a gift from Jean a few years ago, which reminds me of Yorick from His Dark Materials, and I love it. What book would you pair with your unicorn wig? I think it would have to be the Dragon Tea Society, wouldn't it? Because that just feels appropriate. Do you want to stay in London or eventually move to the countryside? In an ideal world, I would love to move to the countryside. This is something we've been talking about a lot, and we'd always kind of wanted to move out of London. I know lots of people want to do that, and I think that's only heightened in this past year when the benefits of being here have not been present. But there are so many moving factors, you know, whether our IVF works, whether we're able to have kids. If my eyesight continues to deteriorate, then the countryside is not a very accessible place. Not that London is either, because of the way society works. But there are just so many different factors, so many moving factors. I don't know. But if nothing changed, yes, the countryside. My heart is owned by the sea, so need to get back there one of these days. Now that you've had 10 books published, do you still do things like submit to literary journals and competitions? I didn't for the longest period of time, mainly because I was working on long books, but more recently, in the past few months, I have started to submit to magazines again. I've got a long poem in the new issue of Cunning Folk magazine. I have some more work forthcoming in Sick and a few other places as well. I found that even though I am working on some longer form stuff, books, those don't have deadlines at the moment, so to encourage me to write smaller things which will feed into the larger projects, I have started submitting to journals competitions because those have deadlines, and deadlines are helpful to me. Deadlines are helpful to everybody, I think. Do you have any funny stories from cooking or baking fails, such as using salt when you meant to use sugar? I definitely missed out an ingredient when I was making scones, doing a live with Lauren and Jean, and that was a fail. Wasn't particularly funny, but it was a fail. In the morning, this is not particularly a baking fail, but it is a food fail. Before my meds have kicked in and before I've sorted out my eyes and I'm not really awake yet, I have made some interesting accidents. I do hot compress on my eyes every day in the morning after I've done all the other stuff that I need to do with them. And I also normally make a cup of tea at the same time. I have been known to accidentally hot compress my eyes with the tea by mistake, which is not as invigorating as you would think it would be. Let's finish with this one. What are some of your most anticipated books for the rest of the year? Ariel Henley, who had an essay in Disability Visibility, has a memoir coming out later this year, which I'm very much looking forward to. Nikki French has a new book coming out in September called The Unheard. Always excited by their new thrillers. My next book is coming out in October, and I will make a video dedicated to that book and telling you about it, because I haven't told you anything about it yet, in June, because that's when I should have an actual copy of it to show you, and it's quite a tactile thing, and I want to show you, and I want to see it myself as well. So that's coming out in October, and then Jenny Odell and Maggie Nelson also have new books coming out this summer, which I am very much looking forward to. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there for now. I am feeling cheered by putting on different outfits and wearing wigs. It has cheered me up. I was feeling a bit flat this morning, which you may be able to tell by the beginning of this video, but this has cheered me up. So thank you very much, and I hope it has entertained you, if not cheered you up as well. Anything that I've referenced to linking will be in the description box down below. I would love to know how you are. Let's have a chat in the comment section. I hope you're all okay, and I will speak to you very soon. Sending lots of love.